So I wanted to share a little bit more about myself today and a little bit about my story and how I came upon this opportunity and why I chose to get started. I actually was that unsupportive spouse at first, the person who wanted nothing to do with this. Ryan had actually had us get involved with another MLM back in 2004, which took a lot of our time, a lot of our money, ruined relationships for us. People thought that, we just wanted to talk to them or be around them to make a sale off of them. And so it put a really bad taste in my mouth and I wanted nothing to do with it. It wasn't that I didn't think it could work or that MLMs worked in general or that they were a scam. It was just that I felt like it took a lot of time and energy and for very, very little return. I think our biggest paycheck was, $15 or something like that. So I started off when Ryan wanted to become a coach saying, no way, I want nothing to do with it. But let's just back up a little bit and talk about how I had started doing Turbo Jam at home. And I really loved it. And it was a great program, but I wasn't very consistent with it. And at the time, Ryan was going to the gym, almost 7 days a week. I think it was 6 days a week at the time. But, he'd be there for 2 hours. He went to work every day for about 12 hours. And so we never really got a chance to see each other. And at the same time, he used to watch the P90X infomercials on TV like they were his favorite movie. Every time they were on, he was watching them. And so finally I just said to him, why don't you get them? Get those DVDs and, we'll get whatever equipment that you need, but start doing it at home. And then at least you can just come home after work. You can do your workout really quickly. Maybe we could do it together, but, get it and start doing it here. So he did. And, he did the program a few times and he loved it. And he was in some groups on Facebook and stuff. And, actually had Chris Reed reach out to him a few years back and ask him if he wanted to be a coach. So this was back in like 2010, I think, that Chris reached out to him. But a backstory also about me is in 2009, I pretty much had the worst year of my life. It was a year of like crazy ups and downs. My little sister had a baby, and 2 weeks later, while we were at my older sister's wedding shower, we got news that my dad had taken his own life. And 2 weeks later was my sister's wedding, and then a week later, my grandmother went into the hospital and ended up being in the ICU for 6 months, and then in a rehab facility after that for another 2 months. And I spent a lot of my time there. I wasn't at work, I was at the hospital. And so going through a lot of things emotionally already, and then I was laid off from my job. So it was a crazy year, and in November of 2009, Ryan asked me to marry him, and that was, something positive. It was something great at the end of, a really shitty year to be able to look forward to. So of course I really wanted to get into shape. So I got Turbo Fire, which was like the subsequent program to Turbo Jam. It was a little bit more intense. There was, 13 or something workouts compared to 3, and I really liked Shalene, so I ordered that. And so Ryan was doing P90X to get ready for the wedding, and I was doing Turbo Fire. But here's the thing, I wasn't really getting the results that I wanted because I wasn't staying consistent and I wasn't eating right. And a lot of that actually had to do with my mindset at the time. I wasn't the happiest of people at that point, and dealing with everything that I was dealing with wasn't allowing me to be in a place where I could really take advantage of that. And I didn't really have a support system or any accountability outside of, just Ryan being like, hey, why aren't you doing your workouts? So, through doing Turbo Fire, I actually really gelled with Janelle Summers. She's actually one of the top Beachbody coaches in the business, and she is Shalene Johnson's sister, and she's in the videos. And I would watch her and I'd be like, damn, that girl has like the best legs. I want her legs. Like, I wonder if she's on Facebook. So I went and I looked her up on Facebook. And of course she was on there, and I started following her, and I noticed that she posted tons of things about not only her workouts, but about nutrition and the foods that she was eating and stuff like that. So I was like, awesome, I'm going to start following her, and maybe I can get some really good insight on like what I can be doing to actually start getting better results from this. And so we're sitting there, and I'm looking through, and now at this point, this was like 2013, by the way. And so I've been following her, and I see something on her Facebook page, and I see that she writes that one of her coaches went emerald. And so I remember Facebook messaging Ryan that day and being like, Janelle Summers just wrote somebody on her page went Emerald. Does she do like Amway or some other multi-level marketing business or something? That's kind of strange. And so I get home that day, and Ryan tells me he signed up to be a coach, that he looked it up, and that, Beachbody had an entire coaching opportunity behind it. And actually, he had been reached out to Chris Reed, back in 2010, right before our wedding. And, Chris had said, do you want to be a coach? And Ryan was like, I don't know what that is. And then they never talked again. Chris never followed up with him. So remembering that conversation and then finding out that, you could become a coach with this business opportunity, he remembered Chris and he contacted him and told him he was ready to sign up as a coach. So this was in April of 2013, and he got a sales job, actually a new sales job that same exact day. So he didn't start his training, he didn't start coaching until he was done his training for this new position that he had done. So that was like an intense 2 months training. So we're talking like July when he really started getting going, and he signed his brother-in-law as his first coach. And then, of course, Chris recommended that he signed me as a coach because he needed 2 coaches in order to go Emerald. And in this business, we usually do say if you have a significant other or a spouse, sign them first in your business. It's what makes sense. It's what's going to make you more money and all of that sort of jazz. But me being totally against it because of our past experience, and not only that, but just feeling a little bit like, I was overweight. Who's going to listen to me as a coach? I'm fearful that I didn't want to be salesy like I was in that other business. Knowing how much time these sorts of things take, and or thinking I knew how much time they took and how nobody wanted to do them. And, I didn't want to be that person and that sort of thing. And I was happy at my job. So why leave it? Why even try? Why add extra stuff on my plate? That sort of thing. I didn't want to do it. I wanted nothing to do with it. And I remember Ryan telling me, we were out at the lake and it was, in July, and he was like, I need you to sign up so that I can become an Emerald coach. And I said, no. And he goes, well, didn't you want to do Insanity anyways? And I was like, well, yeah, I did, but why don't we just order it through you? And he said, because I need you to become a coach. And I was like, well, I don't want to coach. And I remember having this argument with him, sitting there in the bed with my laptop in front of me, him walking me through the steps. And when I was done ordering it, slamming the laptop shut and being like, you happy? And I walked out of the room. And, so it was an argument about me signing up because I didn't want to do it. And then I got my program. So I started that in August. And my last week of it was the last week of September or the first week of October. I don't remember exactly. But we went out to a wedding and in California at that time. And everybody there kept asking me, what I had been doing. Because not only did I lose 30 pounds and 27.45 inches off my body, but I was just happier. I was healthier, happier. I had more energy. I was more positive. And so I was just in a better place. And, I'll add another part of the story too, though, is that I actually had been working on myself mentally as well. I had been reading a lot of Gabrielle Bernstein, and, I kind of just feel like everything was brought to me when I needed it most. I had a really rough year, and after that year, yes, we got married, and yes, there were some positive things like Georgie coming into our lives and stuff like that, but for the most part, it was, a really low time for me, and I wasn't the happy, outgoing person that I had been in, my previous years. And so I'm sitting by a bonfire on an island camping, and Jordan Bach was there. And I don't know if any of you know Jordan Bach, but he is really well known. He's been on Oprah, and he has a blog, and he is a activist for gay spiritual men and having them help them find themselves and peace within themselves and living a miraculous life. But so we ended up sitting by a bonfire, and that was not by happenstance. That was, planned by the universe. And we sat there and we chatted for a long time, and we chatted about my dad, and we chatted about the things that were going on in my life. And we chatted about things that were going on with him. And after that, I started following him on Twitter, and then I noticed an interview that he did with Gabby, and so then I started following Gabby, and then I started ordering Gabby's books. So at the same time that I'm going through this physical and mental change and emotional change, because insanity will push you there, I was working on myself too, and so those two things came to me at the same time. So that, I think, helped me get through insanity. It helped change my mindset. And so I was just in a better place, in a more positive place. And then after going to that wedding and everybody being like, oh my God, you look great, and noticing that change in me, that's when I decided, I could see how this could work. I can see how this is different. it's changing your life. It's making you feel better, and it's noticeable to the outside world, whether it's physical or just like the mental changes that you go through. And people were resonating with that, and they wanted to know what I was doing. And so I said that to Ryan. I didn't necessarily come out and say I want to coach, but I just said that to Ryan, like, I can understand where, why this would work. And the next thing I know, I'm on a phone call with Chris Reed, his coach, and, he's telling me his story and about how he was a cop for 17 years and he left his job before he got his pension because he was making more in 1 week than he would in an entire month if he stayed with his job and waited for his pension, and, telling me about what it had done for his family and his life. And by the end of the phone call, I basically said to him, I will do whatever you say. You're obviously successful at this. I want what you have. I will do what you tell me to do. And since that day, that's exactly what I've done. I will tell you that I asked as many questions as I possibly could. I put the effort in. We as coaches provide you the support and the training that you need, but it's your job to go after it, to pay attention, to participate, to get that information, to ask as many questions as you can. You're never bothering your upline. They're always there to support you and help you. And, and that's what I did. And so within 6 months of doing that, I was able to replace my full-time salary, giving myself the opportunity to make a decision if I wanted to leave my job or not. And I will tell you that I never thought I would leave my job. I loved my boss. I loved the people I worked with. I loved what I did. I played with Facebook all day. I was a social media manager and, SEO consultant. And I brought George to work with me every day. And I had 4 weeks vacation a year paid. And I had, half-day Fridays. And we drank beer in the office. And it was just a fun work environment, very flexible. I could work from home if I wanted to. I could, if I wanted to work from at 10 in the morning one day till whatever, I could do that. If I wanted to go in at 7 and work till whenever, I could. Very flexible as long as you're getting your job done. So I was, one of those people who was like, why would I leave that? I love it. But when I was given the opportunity to have freedom, to not have to ask a boss if I can take time off or even just tell them like, hey, I'm taking a vacation, but just to make the decision and do it, to be able to work from wherever, to be able to, take that trip to Maui last February with my friend Bianca and make money while I was laying by an infinity pool was pretty cool. And since then, since I've left, my business has just exploded even more. The money keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I'm telling you that it will change your life. I feel like I have found my purpose. I've found my passion. I get to pass that on to other people and allow them to feel that, allow them to have more time with their family, with their friends, to do what they want and spend their life doing what they want. When I was a little kid at 5 years old, going to kindergarten, I hated going to kindergarten. I actually threw up on the teacher the first day of school and held onto the bedpost when my mom brought me back to change me because I didn't want to go back. And then throughout school, when I was younger, I used to say to my mom, this is so stupid. Like, I have to go to school 5 days a week so I can have 2 days doing what I want. And it's just to like go through life and then get a job where I do the same thing. And I was like, and it's backwards. You should have 5 days doing what you want and 2 days working. And like, life is short. And I can tell you that when my dad passed, I realized how short life really is. And it's up to you. It's up to you to make it what you want. It's just about changing your mind. It's just about deciding what you want your life to look like and making that change and making those daily steps. And this is a proven plan that can help you do that. You just have to be willing to take the chance to listen to your coaches, to gain that support and to go through it and go through the process. And I promise you, it will all be worth it. So if you have questions in this group, if this sounds like something that you're interested, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to go to your coach and ask questions. I'm sure they're the same things that everybody else is going through and asking. And, it just takes that first step. So, I obviously recommend jumping in and coaching, but get your questions asked first. And I hope this helps. I know it was a little bit of a longer video, but I just kind of wanted to share where I came from and just show you that like everybody goes through the same things. Everybody, has the same fears about this and the same questions, and that's okay. That makes you normal. So ask those questions, get them answered, and then make your decision and, figure out if this is a good fit for you.